Did you know you can grow your email list as a podcast guest? Instead of borrowing someone else's audience, why not focus on growing your own? Take your listeners from curious to connected with a private podcast reader magnet. Want to try one out? Mine is called Listeners to Readers, and in just 6 short episodes, you'll learn how a private podcast can grow your email list and market your book. Grab it for free at listenerstoreaders.com. Have you ever spent hours searching for podcasts to pitch, only to realize half of them haven't even released an episode since 2022? Or maybe you've sent out a dozen podcast pitches already and you've heard crickets. Finding and vetting podcasts to guest on can be so time-consuming unless you're intentional. So today, let's walk through how to find and vet podcasts that are serving your target readers to help you grow your author platform and market your book. So number 1, start with relationships. The easiest way to find podcasts that are worth your time, start with relationships you already have. If you missed the last episode, number 177, we talked about 5 ways you can build relationships with podcast hosts. But also think of your fellow authors and writers and reach out and ask for them to make a warm introduction to the podcast host you want to pitch. You could even post to your email list or your social media and just say, hey, friends, looking to guest on podcasts that reach XYZ target readers. What are your favorite shows? Or XYZ podcasts that talk about topics you can talk about. What are your favorite shows to go to for that? Then make it easy for friends to connect you with a podcast host. Just draft like a short little blurb or a very mini bio that you could share with your friends so they could share with a podcast host. So like for me, it might be Kim is a book marketing strategist that helps nonfiction authors reach new readers on podcasts. And if you want to make it even easier, create a quick email template you can just save and then you can personalize it each time. So number 2 for finding podcasts to pitch, community-based search. So start looking in communities that you're already active in or where your audience and peers are hanging out. So, Facebook groups, writing communities, or special interest groups that talk about faith, relationships, self-help, etc. These communities can be gold mines for podcast opportunities because it's where your target readers are hanging out, right? And where podcasters are likely hanging out too. But always be respectful of the community rules. Sometimes they'll have a promo day or a thread where you can share what you do or what you're looking for and use it to let people know that you're open to guesting opportunities by sharing who your target audience is and how you would serve them. Because sometimes all it takes is one casual post to connect with great hosts who are looking for guests just like you. Then number 3, use a matchmaking service. No, I'm not talking about a dating app, although it can feel like that sometimes. I'm talking about podcast, guest, and host matchmaking platforms like my favorite, Podmatch. Podmatch does the heavy lifting for you. It pairs you with podcast hosts who are looking for guests in your niche, and you can set your preferences and you can let Podmatch automate it all for you and decide who is a fit before even reaching out. And if you want to hear how I've connected with many incredible guests for my show through Podmatch, be sure to listen to episode 131, where I give my overview of the platform. And I can't say enough good things about it and its founders. So to find shows to pitch, number 1, start with the relationships you have. Number 2, do some community-based discovery. Number 3, use a matchmaking service. And then finally, number 4, do your own research. Now, if you like a little detective work, this part's for you, or you could always outsource it. So start with the shows you already listen to. Do they feature guests, and would their audience resonate with your message of your book? Then check where your favorite hosts are being guests themselves, because one of the best ways to grow your own show is to be a guest on others and serve other people's listeners who are also your target listeners. So most likely, all hosts are guesting themselves. Then you can look at where your favorite authors have guested. Or if you see other authors, releasing new books, you can look their names up and see where they've been guesting. So you can just search it, like on Apple Podcasts is probably my favorite and easiest way to do it. And you don't have to have an Apple phone to do it, but you can go to Apple Podcasts and you can just search by the author's name and it'll show a list of shows they've appeared on. So then as you research shows, be sure and keep track of the ones you're finding. You can just use a simple spreadsheet, or I'll share a link below to the podcast pitching tracker that I use on Google Sheets. And I use it to track not just the shows you want to pitch, but also the invitations that come to you from other shows. And that way you'll know which opportunities are worth revisiting later when you want to look for more shows to pitch. So now that we've found shows serving our target readers, let's talk about how to vet them and make sure they're a good fit for you. So ask yourself, is their podcast audience the same readers you want to reach? You can check their show description, or their episode titles will also let you know. Then, is the show active and releasing episodes consistently? Because there's no sense spending any time and energy pitching shows that aren't active. Then, do they actually interview guests, right? Or are they mostly solo episodes? So sometimes it's not so obvious these days that they have guests, because some hosts don't put the guest name in their episode titles. So you have to look a little closer into their episode description to see if a guest name is mentioned. And then finally, if you're active on social media, you might look at the host social presence and just see, is there any red flags? Because remember, when you promote your episode, you're going to tag the host and they'll tag you too. And so make sure it's a partnership that you feel aligned. And just, the way social media is these days, I just wanted to throw that in there to be sure and check it and make sure you're cool with that. So before you fall down the endless podcast search or rabbit hole, take a breath. And we're going to start small, right? Just leverage your relationships you already have. Show up in your communities and share how you'd like to serve podcast listeners. Use matchmaking tools to save time like Podmatch, and then you can do your own research or outsource that task to somebody else. And always vet the shows before you pitch, because the right podcast guesting opportunity goes far beyond marketing your book. It builds relationships that last from book to book. Now, once you start pitching, you might hear back a no or not right now from the host, or sometimes no replies at all, right? It happens more often than you think, and it's not a dead end. In the next episode, we're going to talk about how to handle a no or silence with confidence, what that reply really means behind the scenes, and how to keep your pitching momentum going strong. So don't miss it, because every no actually gets you closer to your next yes. Thanks for tuning into Book Marketing Mania. And as always, I'll be there for you to help you reach and serve your readers one podcast at a time. See you then.